Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. What happens when you meet someone who changes your life in ways you did not expect, only to realize too late that they are no longer there? That is often the reality of crossing paths with a Sigma male. He is not just another character in someone's story. He is the final chapter, the turning point, the moment that cannot be undone. People remember Sigma males because they do not deal in illusions. They do not flatter you with words you want to hear. They give you the kind of honesty that stings in the moment but stays with you for life. At first, this might feel uncomfortable, even harsh. But later, when you reflect, you realize those words pushed you toward growth. And that is why his presence lingers long after he is gone. It is not about dramatic gestures or loud exits. What makes him unforgettable is the clarity he brings. He has a way of showing people what they were blind to, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. His loyalty, when given, is solid, and once experienced, every other bond feels lighter. When he leaves, people discover that it is not noise they miss, but the depth he carried with him. If you have ever been touched by that presence, take it as a blessing. Do not focus on what you lost. Focus on the lessons you gained. Because the truth is, Sigma males may leave, but the imprint they leave behind is permanent. And that is the brutal truth. Let's dive in deeper, brothers. Number 1. People discover too late that the Sigma male was the only one who offered them a rare form of honesty without sugarcoating or manipulation. People often go through life surrounded by half-truths. Friends say what they think you want to hear. Partners hold back parts of themselves to avoid conflict, and colleagues play politics to stay safe. That is why crossing paths with a Sigma male feels so different. He's not interested in playing roles or wrapping the truth in layers of comfort. He gives honesty in its rawest form, and for many, that becomes both a blessing and a shock. At first, people may not value this. They might even find it uncomfortable because most are used to hearing soft words that protect fragile egos. Imagine a friend who tells you your work is good when it is average, or a partner who hides frustration to keep the peace. Those lies feel kind in the moment, but they build cracks over time. The Sigma male does the opposite. If your work is average, he will tell you. If you are settling for less in life, he will point it out. It may sting, but it wakes you up. The tragedy is that many only recognize the value of this honesty after he's gone. They realize he was the one person who never tried to manipulate or take advantage of their weaknesses. He did not speak to win favor, he spoke to open eyes. Losing that kind of truth leaves a hole nothing else can fill. Think about it. In a world where people are quick to flatter for their own gain, how often do you meet someone who looks you in the eye and tells you exactly what you need to hear? That is why people regret losing a Sigma male. His truth may cut, but it also heals. And once it is gone, they wish they had listened closer. Number 2. Once someone experiences his loyalty, every other relationship afterward feels watered down. Loyalty is a word many people throw around, but very few truly live by it. With a Sigma male, loyalty is not just a promise, it is a way of life. When he commits to someone, he does not do it halfway. He shows up with consistency, with presence, and with an unshakable sense of responsibility. People who are lucky enough to experience that kind of loyalty often do not realize how rare it is until they lose it. Think about how most relationships go. Someone is loyal as long as it is convenient, as long as feelings are easy, as long as there is something to gain. The moment things get difficult, their commitment wavers. That is the norm in everyday life, whether in friendships, family bonds, or love. But a Sigma male operates differently. If he calls you his person, he is with you through the storms, not just the sunshine. He listens when no one else has the patience. He stands beside you even when the crowd walks away. He remembers what you say, not because he is trying to impress, but because he genuinely cares. This is why, after experiencing that level of loyalty, every other bond feels pale in comparison. Regular promises suddenly sound shallow. Ordinary gestures lose their weight. Even relationships that appear stable feel fragile next to what he once gave. It is like drinking water after tasting fine wine. It keeps you alive, but it does not satisfy your soul. The hardest part for people is that once he withdraws his loyalty, there is no second chance, and so they are left comparing everyone else to the one man whose loyalty was real, unshakable, and unforgettable. Number 3, he does not chase people, and that makes his departure sting far more than those who constantly run back and forth. Most people are used to relationships that feel like a push and pull. One person leaves in anger, only to return with apologies. The other slams the door, then reopens it when loneliness creeps in. That cycle becomes normal in friendships, families, and even romantic relationships. The problem is, it teaches people to believe departures are never final. They assume every exit comes with a return ticket. A Sigma male is different. He does not play the game of running away just to be chased. If he leaves, it is not a test. It is a decision. He does not wait to see if you will come after him because he never needed that kind of reassurance. When he walks away, he does it with finality. And that is exactly why his departure hurts far more than those who always come back. Imagine a friend who storms out after every argument but always shows up again the next week. You learn not to take their exit seriously. Now imagine someone who stays steady through storms, who does not run at the first sign of conflict, but once he finally decides to leave, you never see him again. That silence cuts deeper because you know he meant it. This is what makes people feel his absence so strongly. They realize too late that his presence was never casual. His consistency lulled them into thinking he would always be there. So when he finally withdraws, the loss feels permanent, and it is. There is no second act with him, no endless cycle of breaking and fixing. His departure is not just an exit, it is the closing of a chapter, and that is why it stings in a way nothing else does. Number 4, people remember him not for dramatic gestures, but for the sharp clarity he brought to their lives. What makes a person unforgettable is not always the grand displays or loud actions. More often, it is the clarity they bring into your life at moments when everything feels messy and confusing. That is exactly why people remember a Sigma male long after he is gone. He is not the type to make a scene or constantly show off. What stays with people is the way he could cut through the noise and show them a truth they had been avoiding. Think about a time when you were overwhelmed with a decision. Friends might give you comforting words or tell you what you want to hear. A Sigma male, however, would tell you exactly what you need to hear, even if it is uncomfortable. It could be as simple as pointing out that you are holding on to a job that drains your spirit, or that you are settling in a relationship that does not honor your worth. His words hit harder because they are not wrapped in false encouragement. They are clear, raw, and often life-changing. The remarkable part is that he does not deliver this clarity with arrogance. He says it quietly, sometimes even casually, but the weight of it stays with you. Months later, when you finally act on that advice or realize he was right, his voice echoes in your mind. You remember that he gave you a perspective no one else dared to share. That is why his memory lingers. People do not replay dramatic gestures. They replay the moments of sharp truth that shifted their path. His gift is in making life clearer, and once you have tasted that kind of clarity, you cannot forget the person who gave it to you. Number 5. His presence reveals truths about people they were not ready to face, and when he leaves, those truths remain. Some people enter your life and make you feel comfortable, even if it means covering up what is broken. A Sigma male does the opposite. His presence has a way of shining a light on the parts of yourself and others that are usually kept hidden. It is not because he tries to expose anyone, but because his honesty and his way of seeing the world strip away illusions. Around him, masks do not last long. Picture being in a friendship where everyone pretends to be fine, laughing at jokes they do not find funny, or agreeing just to avoid conflict. The Sigma male disrupts that pattern without even trying. If he senses something off, he will call it out. If he notices someone pretending, he does not play along. That creates an uncomfortable but undeniable truth. People suddenly see themselves and others more clearly, and not everyone is ready for that. The striking thing is that even after he leaves, those truths remain. If he pointed out that a relationship was draining your spirit, you will keep feeling the weight of that comment long after he is gone. If he made you realize you were chasing approval instead of purpose, that realization will follow you into every new chapter of life. His presence changes the way people see themselves, and there is no going back to ignorance once that awareness is planted. This is why people cannot shake the impact he leaves behind. His presence may have been temporary, but the truths he revealed stay permanent. They may sting, they may even cause discomfort, but in the end, they force growth. That is the mark of someone unforgettable. Number 6. He holds nothing against those who wrong him, but his quiet exit becomes the punishment they cannot escape. One of the most misunderstood things about a Sigma male is how he handles being wronged. Most people, when betrayed or disrespected, react in obvious ways. They shout, argue, demand apologies, or look for revenge. The Sigma male does none of that. He does not waste time plotting how to make someone regret their actions. Instead, he does something far more unsettling. He quietly removes himself. At first, the person who wronged him might think they got away with it. There was no fight, no confrontation, no scene. But as time passes, the weight of his absence starts to sink in. They remember the way he supported them without asking for anything in return. They remember his loyalty, his patience, and the steady presence he brought into their lives. Suddenly, that absence feels like a punishment they never saw coming. It is a punishment because silence is harder to escape than arguments. You can defend yourself in a fight, you can try to justify your actions when someone accuses you, but you cannot argue with a closed door. You cannot undo the emptiness left when someone who mattered simply chooses not to be there anymore. Imagine being used to someone always answering your calls, always listening without judgment, always showing up when it counted. Then one day, that consistency is gone. No dramatic farewell, no explosion of anger, just silence. That silence forces people to face themselves and the damage they caused. And the truth is, most never recover from it fully. This is why the Sigma male's quiet exit becomes unforgettable. It is not revenge, yet it delivers a deeper lesson than revenge ever could. Losing him is not loud, but it echoes for a lifetime. Number 7. Most people spend their lives polishing an image. They dress a certain way to look successful, speak in a certain tone to sound confident, or agree with things they do not believe just to keep approval. It is so common that many no longer notice it happening. That is why encountering a Sigma male feels different from the very beginning. He does not adjust himself to fit into expectations. He is the same person in every room, and that rare authenticity stands out more than any flashy attempt to impress. Think about everyday life. In workplaces, people often laugh at the boss's unfunny jokes to stay in good favor. On social media, people exaggerate their lifestyles to appear more accomplished than they really are. Even in friendships, some avoid speaking their true thoughts out of fear of being judged. A Sigma male simply does not operate this way. If a joke is not funny, he will not fake laughter. If he disagrees, he will say so respectfully. If he is proud of something, he will own it without bragging. His consistency is refreshing because it strips away the need for guessing. You always know where he stands. This is why people cannot forget him. They realize that during the time they knew him, he was not performing, he was just being. That kind of realness is so rare in a world full of masks that it leaves a permanent mark. Later on, when they interact with others who constantly bend and twist themselves for attention, they remember the Sigma male who never played that game. It is not the loud or the dramatic that makes him unforgettable. It is the quiet certainty of someone who is fully himself, with no need to impress and no need to pretend. Number 8. He becomes the standard others are compared to, and no one else measures up. When people experience a Sigma male, they often do not realize in the moment how rare he is. It is only after he is gone that the comparisons begin. Every new friend, every new partner, every new connection ends up being measured against the standard he set, and most of the time no one else measures up. The reason is simple. He brings qualities that are not easy to find together in one person. He listens without judgment, yet he speaks with piercing honesty. He shows loyalty without conditions, yet he will walk away if disrespected. He can be deeply present, yet completely independent. These traits create a balance that most people struggle to maintain. When someone has lived through that balance, settling for less afterward feels impossible. Imagine a woman who once had a partner who never lied, never played games, and treated her with steady respect. Even if that relationship ended, she will find it hard to tolerate a man who constantly makes excuses or hides things. Or think of a friend who once had someone stand by them through the toughest storms. After that, ordinary friendships that fade under pressure will feel hollow. The Sigma male does not set out to be a benchmark, but his way of being naturally leaves that effect. People keep searching for his mix of honesty, strength, and calm, but the search rarely succeeds. This is why his absence feels so permanent. It is not just that he is missed, it is that his presence reshaped expectations. Once you have experienced someone who carries that kind of depth, everyone else seems lighter, less certain, less real, and that is why he becomes the standard, the measure, and the comparison that others cannot escape. In conclusion, what do you do when you meet someone who changes the way you see the world, only to realize too late that they will not be part of your future? That is the story most people face after crossing paths with a Sigma male. He does not leave quietly because he was unnoticed. He leaves quietly because his impact was already made, and once he closes a chapter, it stays closed. The brutal truth is that Sigma males are unforgettable because they reveal things about life and about people that no one else dares to. They expose illusions, bring clarity, and give a kind of loyalty that feels impossible to find again. His presence forces growth, and his absence leaves a void that nothing else can fill. That is why people remember him long after he has gone. But here is the encouragement in it. If you have ever been shaped by the presence of a Sigma male, take that experience as a gift. Do not waste time regretting his absence. Use what he left you with. Let his honesty push you to live more authentically. Let his loyalty inspire you to give more deeply to the people who truly matter. Let the clarity he brought remind you to stop settling for shallow waters. Chapters close, but their lessons remain. If you carry those lessons forward, you honor the presence he once gave you. And maybe, just maybe, you become someone who leaves the same kind of depth behind in the lives you touch. That is the real power of crossing paths with someone unforgettable. Thank you for watching, brothers.